Well, hello, and welcome, my friends, to an episode of StageCraft.
Hello.
My name is Alex.
And my name is Don.
We are joined this week by...
Gardiner.
And Jorge Bañales.
I've noticed is that I think incoming Gen Z, they move. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are moving. I remember going into a show, and as soon as the first hit, the whole crowd would go, woof, just move. When I was going to shows, I wanted to go to the seediest nightclubs.
Oh, yeah,
I wanted to be scared to death.
Yeah.
I wanted, I remember rats running over my feet in the 930 club alleyway,
Well, it's kind of like what Kaz just said. I think that music is not as important anymore, and people, they are their own entertainment. They are their own, channel. They have their own Facebook channel. They are their own, they're watching themselves.
What's the new thing? There's got to be something new, what is it? Did I miss it? Do I not know about it? I knew sometimes I was in situations that were really dangerous. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, wow, I can't believe, I parked my car there and walked over that bridge, just to get to that warehouse, things like that. Or I went there by myself, and waited for my friends for 2 hours, I know people now that are like, I can't eat alone in a restaurant. And I'm like, that's sad. So wow. I don't know. I just think that even with that, when I was younger, I liked bands with people in them that were, to me, a lot older than me. Mm-hmm. I hung out with people who were probably too old for me to be hanging out with. And I just thought that, this person has so much.
There's definitely a cultural shift on the attitude towards that.
Yeah.
And I'm not a preacher. I'm not here to say what's right or what's wrong. It's just not my thing,
Are you going to save us?
Try every single day. But the attitude towards that has changed.
Yes.
And it's not even there was a heyday of that, but there's always been sort of this, I always use the example of the book Lolita, that was, a book that was very scandalous at the time. Now it's almost kind of laughable and weird and pervy, and, that sort of attitude around those types of things has changed in indescribable ways. It really has. House shows is a part of that too. Having a group of adults who would go and perform for younger kids, the attitudes around that stuff has changed.
Yes.
I don't know. I think it's a culture of fear around that stuff.
Yeah.
And, for better or for worse,
Well, I guess what I feel like, I guess my personal push, I'll call it, not fight, push, is that I'm not done. So I don't want to be thinking of myself as okay, we're done and this is their time and this is this. And I'm okay, you're having your time. That's great. I'm still breathing. I still want to write music. I still want to when I perform, I've had to make young people move their bodies because they're just standing there. And I'm like, why are you standing there? I remember going into a show, and as soon as the first hit, the whole crowd would go, woof, just move. Mm-hmm. And it was this undulating mass of and I'm now, you're just hey guys, why don't you try moving? Just move, please move, and they're just,
I blame their prescription meds.
Well,
I think it's because music is not an entertainment anymore.
No, I think they are their own entertainment.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that, Jorge?
Well, it's kind of like what Kaz just said. That I think that music is not as important anymore, and well, it's kind of like what Kaz just said. That I think that music is not as important anymore, and people, they are their own entertainment. They are their own, channel. They have their own Facebook channel. They are their own, they're watching themselves. So when they go to a show, they want to see themselves at the show. They don't care about the band or the musicians or anything like that. They turn their phone to their face and they make a little show of, online of them watching the show. So the show is about them. It's not about the performers on stage.
But they're probably listening to more music than at least I did when I was young, because, they have the earbuds in all the time. They had headphones on all the time.
But it's not even, I think that, and I mean, this is probably older people speak,
No, we love that stuff. We do that stuff all the time.
I hate to do that, but I think that we didn't have a constant flow and lots of selection. So you had to be very selective. Like I remember, of course, I mean, you'd turn on the radio and you would get really upset because if the song was like not what you wanted to hear, you could switch around. There wasn't very much that was going to change if you went.
You knew the stations you liked.
So you're like, all right, I'll just sit and listen to this until the next song. Hopefully that one's good. So when a song was something you really liked, there was almost like a little piece of your mind that was given over completely to it. And I think that when it's just like constantly flowing and you can just get, and you're like, you can kind of control, right now you can control so much. You can make your own playlist. You can make it so that your world is very isolated and it's just your stuff that only you like. And, most of the music influences that I have was because I was forced to be around music from my parents and my brothers and sister.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm 7 years younger than the youngest one. So everything was like, okay, I'm 17 and I'm like, I'm 7. And it's like, guess who has control over the stereo,
Yeah.
And it was like,
it blows my mind. I mean, think about how long it would take you to get by like a new album.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it might be 2 weeks. My God, 2 weeks before you bought a new album.
Sometimes it would be months. I would beg. Like, I remember when I wanted, what album did I want? Oh, I wanted the Super Freak 45 by Rick James. And I begged. I was like, can I please, and then finally my mom was like, okay, we'll go to the store. And then I had to wait. I think it was like a month or two. And I just remember putting it on my little turntable. Like it was, nothing great, just a little turntable in the corner. And I was like, this is so awesome. This is the best thing ever. Like, right. I mean, building that little record collection where you only have like 2 45s and like 1 or 2 albums, like you felt like you had so much, and you learned even the songs you hated, you learned because you just listened to it so much. Like right now, it's like, no, I don't like that song. Yeah. I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
And also, I feel like music used to have different timbres to it. Like each band or genre had its own sound.
Yes.
Even if there was like 2 rock bands, the recording of the drums would not have the same sound. But now, music tends to have like the same kind of sounds, and so people are not as experimental with, if they don't hear the sounds that they're used to, then they're not going to like it.
You're right.
They're not going to buy it.
Yeah,
We
right?
talk about that a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
we talk about that all the time.
And then so that like makes for example, like I remember the first time I heard Talking Heads speaking in tongues, and I fell in love with that record, and it's like nothing that I had ever heard up to that point. And it's all like, weird world music. I think Bernie Worrell is playing keyboards, and it's strange music, and then and then you would like the next song on the radio you hear. Well, Burning Down the House, which is totally different than all the other songs on the record. But, you hear Burning Down the House, then the next song would be Bruce Springsteen, and that's like a rock song. Yes. So, now everybody has like, if you were to listen to the top 40, it would be like drum machine sounds the whole way through. The same drum machine.
It all sounds very similar to, European club music in the 90s. It's all very reminiscent of that. I came across an old friend's CD collection from then, and it all sounds like it's produced from like the mid 90s in like Europe club music. It has that same sort of drum machine sound and weird sort of like sweeping effects that happen sort of in the background that are like, I guess, trickery, to get you feeling the rhythm, if you will.
Yeah.
It's strange.
But that's because it sells.
Yeah.
They look at what makes money and they use that formula for this and this and this and this.
Oh, yeah.
But people did that earlier on, too. There were bands that they had one hit or a semi-hit, and then their next song was kind of like the same song.
Yes. Yeah.
So they went after what worked, I guess, what made them money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like maybe it was because the challenge, of course, is to make it something you want to do, because, the crowd would be fine if they could just drink and be left alone, but not having that. So to me, I think it's fun, and I always film it if I can get them to really start turning around and like honestly just heading towards us and just wiggling frantically. And one thing that I've noticed is that I think incoming Gen Z, they move. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are moving. It's been like 10 years of like, please move.
There's a formula, like, to make a song, like make it 2 minutes and 30 seconds and, verse, chorus, bridge, there's a formula, but I feel like, a Bob Marley song from back then is not going to sound the same as a disco song.
Right. But I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, like I have this, I kind of believe that, this is sort of stupid, but like we're all musicians and people who love music and love it beyond like it's almost like food. Like you might say this dish is delicious, but I might be able to tell you all these different things about why it's delicious. So in a really weird way, I guess, when music is popular and it's coming out and we're all experiencing it, I guess kind of to what you said, but also to what you said, is that depending on what kind of listener you are, you might be more in tuned because you were destined to play the bass or, whatever. Mm-hmm. You might be more in tune to, say, the difference between Prince and David Bowie, like, even though that's like, you're like, oh, this music came out, this is a really cool song, this is a really cool song. But you might be like, Prince's songs always have blank, blank, blank. And David Bowie generally does this, but back in this age, he did that, you know, like, so you have all of this, you're experiencing it in like a totally different way. So in a way, I feel like popular music kind of has always done that. In general, to sell it, you do what most people want to hear.
Yeah, it's like it's consistent with whatever is popular at the time, and then, it's not just music. It's like part entertainment too, because it's pop culture.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like reminiscent of whatever like is in theaters or whatever the visual medium is too, because you know. For a while, there were like those string of like Disney hits. Like those were pop hits for a while and stuff like that. And so music like Celine Dion and stuff like that was all sort of reminiscent of that. And that sound sort of like it ate itself at some point.
But also, we're talking about popular music. But when we're talking about, say, like bands that I went to see at the old 930 Club, or local bands that were playing in DC with certain DC sounds, or New York bands, or whatever, these other things that maybe never bubbled all the way up to that popularity. That's where I think I'm sort of confused about what's happened, because I understand that pop music is going to be popular and it's going to do what it does. I've never actually like once I got to a certain age and I realized that there was all this other stuff out there, that stuff dropped. I don't remember hardly anything from the 90s. And it's not because of drugs and alcohol. It's because I just stopped listening.
Sure.
By then I was like trying to be in my own band, being my own musician. I was concentrating on the world that I wanted to be in. And it didn't involve popular music. It involved the underground scene and like these scenes and scene. And what's weird to me now is that the culture is it's almost like foreign. I don't know what's happened. It's weird to me. Like, it doesn't seem it seems like everybody's trying to do what they did, but there's nothing current that's sticking out. Do you know what I mean?
Is that because there's so much?
No, I'm saying like, okay, we have one thing I think is interesting is a lot of times you hear people say that's so punk rock. And I'm like, what's your thing? Why are you trying to be punks? Like, it's over. I mean, it's not over, but what's the new thing? Like, I mean, there's got to be something new, you know, what is it? Did I miss it? Do I not know about it? Where's the music and the culture that goes with it? What is its own thing?
Yeah.
You know?
Because I've noticed that, like, you know, when we go out to some restaurant, and I'm not, you know, it's not a restaurant that caters to just older people, and the music is, you know, all the songs that we know.
Yes.
You know, from the 80s, 90s, and there's even like, sometimes they play some soul music or reggae or funk, you know, and so it's weird that there's no...
It's like, what year is this, man?
Yeah, because it's almost like going out to... If you were back in the 80s and you went out, I mean, I remember going to like a shopping mall and I would hear Blondie, right? But the song was current.
And then the next day we played at a beer hall about an hour away.
Yeah.
And it rained like crazy. And
yeah, it was like a downpour.
it was like
the
hours of rain.
The
Loaded must have been fun.
The whole night.
We were playing. It was kind of like the stage was kind of almost outside, so the rain was like. And we were like standing in like half an inch of water with the guitar chords in the water.
I was like, good.
And they had photographers. Like,
I thought you were going to say they had insurance.
Well, I have no idea, but they had photographers that were like, first of all, the owners of this place
But one thing also you need to know about playing in Argentina and is that you start playing like around 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yes, you do not play. You get there.
You get there like around midnight and start eating and drinking, and then.
Yeah, like about 3 a.m.
Yeah.
They're like,
wow.
time to go
Bistro.
on. Time to go on. Yeah, I forgot about that. That part of it is just, it takes a lot to get used to. But the thing about that place was now, the couple that owns it, I would say, are pretty punk rock. Actually.
But now you go out somewhere and it's old stuff.
It's
like,
Blondie.
So they don't. I don't know what that. You know.
And it's almost like, you know.
I know that we're older and we might not be in tune with what kids are listening. You know, in the halls of high school, but.
Yeah, that's why I said
But I know that they like old music.
I just want to know what it is, because, you know, there was those subcultures, they bring things to the table, and if they're not happening, then there's like, it's stagnant. And even things that, you know, I was into, I did, you know, I wore the clothes, I did all the stuff, you know, like I bought into it. And then after a certain point, it's like, well, I'm getting older now. Can't keep doing that, you know, like not forever, not in that way, you know. So I just think it's funny, like when someone says, like, I don't know, I was listening to some commercial on TV yesterday, because, you know, you watch the same commercials all the time. And this woman says, how can you be a punk rocker and you don't have any tattoos? And every time I hear that commercial, I'm like, what in the world? What? Like, what? What is this woman asking this person this question? And why is this person a punk rocker? Like, why aren't they something else? Like, I think, to me, the last thing I remember, because I'm not, maybe I don't know, was like the whole grunge thing, which I you know, that happened, which was like a spin-off of things. But I'm like, okay, that happened. And then it changed music for a little bit. And it's not like I was into it or I loved it, but I understood there was a subculture.
Right.
There was a thing that happened. So when young people are supposed to be so creative and so amazing, and everybody's so encouraging, because that's the other difference. Nobody encouraged Gen Xers to be anything.
Right.
And like, there's all this encouragement. They're like, the youth, what are the youth? And I worry about the youth. And I'm like, okay, I don't have kids, so I don't really, honestly, I don't care about the youth. However, I'm like, what I would love to see the youth do is, you know, if I'm going to care, give me something that no one has seen before.
Right.
That is yours and that can inspire us, that can make us, you know, that's what your job is. Your job isn't to regurgitate punk, hippies, grunge, 90s, 70s, 60s, 50s. Like, I mean, I'm guilty of it myself. You know, I was totally into the mod thing for like years, but at the same time, I really wanted to try to like modernize it. And I'm like, yeah, that's all. That's one little complaint that I have. We talk about that all the time.
People that are serious about music are always looking for something new, I think. But the fallback position is to go with a style that you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
Well, I listen to a lot of new music, but it's all like drones and electronic music and sound art and things like that. It's, you know, vinyl. Like I just heard the vinyl record sales surpassed CD sales this month, or this, I don't know, the most recent sale thing. And I go to websites and if I really like something and I'm going to buy it, it's going to be on vinyl, and it's usually like some kind of like ambient drone new thing that people are doing, and it has like a lot of concept behind it. It has like a whole like idea, you know, it's kind of like art in a way. It's kind of like a dissertation. But in terms of, you know, and then I try to listen to like other stuff. But in terms of bands and things like that, I might not be in tune with stuff, but I don't find anything that moves me as much as, it could be me. I'm older now, and it's maybe I just like sounds instead of songs. But I was listening. I started listening to this podcast on the BBC. It's about the rave scene in the early '90s, and just listened to like the first episode, and it has like people that were there talking about their experience with, how ecstasy came along and the music and everything, and they talk a lot about how in the mid '80s and to the late '80s in England, a lot of club going involved a lot of violence, like fights and people getting drunk, and how all of a sudden this drug comes in and makes everybody feel good and happy, and like it totally changed. I mean, it totally changed their society. And there were people who were like going to soccer games and fighting, all of a sudden are like, there was one guy talking about how it changed his relationship with his male friends, being able to tell them that he cared for them, and they usually call the ravers the last tribe, because after that there was no other youth scene that came out of that, Mm-hmm. So if you think about that, that's like the early '90s, and so since then, and then grunge and the ravers were kind of happened at the same time, and since then there hasn't been really like something. I mean, I think hip hop and there's a lot of that stuff that's done new things and innovated and has something to say. We're like kind of like cussing and fighting before we go on.
Yeah,
trying
there's
to
a lot
this.
of like, play this, now listen, play it again, turn it up, play it again, record it. Like we're like recording
and then the drum
ourselves,
machine,
recording
like
ourselves.
the drum machine that the snare drums and the cymbals go over more than the bass drum, and but I also think that the whole arc of the pandemic, like at the beginning, I think people were more prone to listen to watch something online.
We'll be back.
That was a little bit more intense than I think it was more intense than even doing Facebook Live. The Zoom was definitely, because they were all just staring at you.
Yeah, it's weird. I've been on one of those.
Yeah, this one.
Wow.
I remember one woman. I always make fun of her, but she was looking at us so. It was like she was analyzing us. Like,
Yeah, like,
she
what
was.
is going
She
on?
was looking at us like. I mean, her face was scrunched up. She was like it just the whole show. Like, I was like, I kept telling myself, I was like, don't look at her. Don't look at her. That was the other thing, is that sometimes when when people get old and they have kids, that's a big change. Like, this person could be the best guitar player, best drummer, best keyboardist, best anything. And then all of a sudden they have this kid. And at first it's like, don't worry, guys. And, neither one of us have ever had children. So we kind of have a joke, but Jorge is like, oh, they're going to have a kid. This is it. We'll never see this guy again. Mm-hmm. And, normally it takes a little bit of time, and then, they phase out. They can't do those things. And the things that we want to do, especially because we don't have children, is we want to tour. We want to travel. We want to get in a plane and fly to California, play for a weekend, and fly back home and go to work if we have to. We want to, we went to South America. It was just me and Jorge, because we got musicians there to fill in the gaps, and those musicians just happened to be the same ones that are on the album. So it wasn't really like filling in the gaps, but we were able to do our album with the guys in South America.
That worked out good.
Because we didn't have to have this conversation where it was like, hey guys, we did some of the work from the computer at home, sent it. They did the work. One of the guys in Argentina has his own studio because he produces music and commercials or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
The other stuff he does. He does something professionally in there. And so he got the musicians, guys that we knew, and then sent it back, and we did our whole little thing. And of course, those musicians happened to, for the music that we wanted to do, they buy into the whole way of life. So it wasn't a matter of like, let me teach you how this sounds. It was like, what do you guys think of this? We're like, oh, that's nice. It just lessened the work. And
because some of our style is, the reggae and the rocksteady stuff has like you have to play it a certain way, and people think that it's easy to do it, but it's not if you don't really pay attention. So people who really like it, they know how to do it. And so
you have to have a feel for it.
Yes.
Yeah, and you have to find people that have, they're like, this is the way it's done. It's not like, oh, reggae, oh, it's easy, and they just start playing it, but it doesn't sound like what it's supposed to be. Yeah, so it's hard to find people who are really capable of understanding it. I don't know.
Yeah, because some people say like, oh, I love reggae. Or, oh, I know that artist. I know this and that. And then the problem is that we know exactly what is wrong with this very confident person standing in front of you playing. And I think that there is a certain...
We're reggae snobs.
We are. We're reggae snobs. And I think that a lot of people are... they don't know that exists. It's like all of a sudden we're speaking another language and they're like, this music is nothing. Not nothing, but it's not as I feel like they don't come at it the same way that they might with jazz or
they don't respect it.
Yes. It's like, just pick it up. Chick, 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 chick. And you're just sitting there like knowing everything that's wrong with those upbeats, everything that's wrong with that, with, oh, you're lagging there, or like you like with one of the most important things to me is that the bass in reggae is the melody instrument and the guitar is percussion. And it's like, that just kills a lot of guitarists that they'll say, I am a rhythm guitarist. And I'm like, it's beyond rhythm. It's percussion. You're a percussion instrument. I don't know how to explain this to you. And so when you get somebody who knows that, you hear it instantly. It's like they're just walking, you know? And the only problem with that, of course, is that it's very limited supply of people who do it. And any band that's good has got them. So it's like there's like 4 guys in all of DC, and they're like all booked up that can play this way. And that's how you end up going way outside of your jurisdiction in order to get the sound you want and do what you dream of doing. And also, we also like other things. So that kind of pushes it in a weird direction too, because we both like electronic music, which is kind of unusual with reggae artists, especially ska, rocksteady, the early reggae stuff. They might like dub. We love dub, but we also like maybe more electronic stuff, and then we also like rock and 60s rock and pop and soul. And so in my world, I want to just cram all of that in. And somebody might be good at reggae and cannot play rock.
Right.
But you could be an expert in one field and have other fields that you're not quite as up to, but enjoy it.
Yes, but when you're trying to put out a product, you need to be good at it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. That's where it gets kind of weird. So
at least theoretically.
Yeah, we've had moments where we've known a couple of people who love reggae, been playing it since they were like 16. They're now like 40, 50 years old. And they also love garage rock or like mod rock. And it's like, oh my God, this guy is awesome. And then like all of a sudden it's like, I'm tired. Like, I don't want to play anymore. And you're like, oh, okay. So then we're like, then we bring in somebody else and we're like, oh. So that's kind of.
Yeah, that's personality though, right? Kind of.
No, that's skill.
Skill? Oh, okay. When you mean they're tired, you mean.
Oh, because they don't want to do it anymore.
They can't keep up.
And like I said, we are gonna want to play, like we play normally once a month, if not way more. And yeah, sometimes it's like, that's too much, guys. It's like, okay. So, I don't know. It's just a weird balance.
It's hard to settle on the songs and the styles and stuff like that. I mean, it's much easier when you're in the teens and you're in high school.
Yes.
And then it's, okay, guys, we'll play. Yeah, I'll play whatever you want. Will play whatever you want because nothing really matters that much. But now things seem to matter more or have more value, or else, I don't know, what our time is more valuable.
Well, I think also as you age, I mean, what I think is weird, I've had these strange thoughts, of course, COVID thoughts. I was thinking about how pop music in, like, say, the 40s and the 30s and the 40s, the stars were older than the teenagers that listened to them. Mm-hmm. And then it just sort of changed, and it's turned into this young thing. Like, you're supposed to be very young. You're supposed to be young and complete. Like this complete person at like 20 or 16. I don't even know. And then what I feel as a person, like I've been performing since I was a little kid, but I've been performing as a musician in bands since I was maybe 17. And, I'm like, what, 47? I'm 47 now. I feel like whatever product I bring out, it shouldn't sound like what I did when I was 17. I've matured. I can do things with my voice I couldn't do then. It's not even like I'm older and I'm not as good. I can actually do things with my voice now that I couldn't do when I was younger. Mm-hmm. And I'm aware of that. So when I think that when we create music now, what we're trying to do is make sure that maturity is there, because what's the point of appealing to, dumbing down what you do to this level of like when you were younger, when you can do and have experienced and and have knowledge of so much more now. And I think that's one of the reasons why when I thought about these crooners, singing these songs and these little, young girls in the 40s going, this guy is like singing very these songs. I thought these people, they were singers, like they had training. They were like in this other place. And now it's gotten to the point that the idea is that if you're not young, it's over. You just sort of fade it out. It's, like the clubs want young people, the fans want young, like people who are older don't want to go see shows as much because they're tired. If they do come out, they'll only see bands that they've seen since they were 17, and they want those bands, these older people, to be like rocking out, like all the way until they're like 70, 80 years old. And I'm like, are these guys still singing songs about beers? Is that it? And it's just weird to me. I just find it strange.
Stop. Hey, yeah. Thinking all the while that your mother child. Way you talking, I keep thinking stop. Hey, hey, yeah.
That's one of the reasons why I think it's weird, the use of the word punk to describe people that, and oftentimes I would think from my standpoint, aren't quite punk. And I feel bad saying that because they're really proud. They've got there's all these declarations, but that was another thing. You didn't declare it. You were it.
But does it matter?
Yeah, it matters. Yeah. I guess the thing is like, I guess it matters to me because
I know we always try to gravitate towards categorizing.
Well, no. If you're yelling it, like I'm not yelling out that I'm anything. So you're like, I'm punk. I am so punk. That's punk. What that guy just did yesterday was so punk, So I'm like, why do they keep saying that? Like, it just holds a weird meaning to me that it's almost like a word that someone has decided can mean lots of things. Normally it's rude, confrontational, possibly disrespectful. Those things are punk. And we're all kind of like letting it flow right past us. But to me, those words mean something, like it just means something to me. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying if you're going to say you're a punk, if this club is going to be a punk club, or if this is going to be so punk, then
well, now it used
I have
to
a certain expectation.
It used to be that you would say I'm a rock star, but now being a rock star means being good at your job.
Yeah,
being like good.
You're like the boss of
being good at your corporate job.
You're the CFO.
Yeah, you're a rock star.
CFO.
Rock star.
Well, yeah, but punk is also a great example of a great expletive. You punk.
Yeah.
It's like shit.
Yeah.
Or oops, cut that out.
It comes from the throat chakra.
It just is a nice. It's that's punk, or this is punk, or this is so punk.
Yeah.
I know what you mean. What does it really mean? They're just saying it, but it feels good to say that. It's just like, when someone, it feels good to say that.
But that's just strange to me. I just find it strange. I mean, nobody says that's so grunge.
No, grunge doesn't have the same.
That's so
pop to
rave.
it.
That guy was so rave yesterday.
Yeah, it's the G. That person was so electronica.
Nobody does
People
that.
say things are jazzy.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
that definitely does work.
Well, jazz has got jazz. It's got that jazz. It's
Or
got
rock.
that vibe. Or rock.
Rock. You rock. This rocks.
I hate that phrase. I actually that's my version of your dislike of the word punk. I hate when people say this rocks because I'm like, no, it does not rock.
What the hell does that mean?
Well, rock is very specific. Like rock and roll is very specific music to me.
Punk.
Yeah, rock and roll is very specific music. It's bad. It's bad music for bad people, and that's how I feel about it. And I mean, and I
We
love
got
it.
that off our chest, didn't we?
Well, for playing music for 30 years almost, professionally or semi-professionally,
I always have to look at him. I'm like, I just don't count.
I think it's been 30 years.
It's 2 years in my brain.
just to take ourselves into the let's just pretend for a few minutes that the pandemic and COVID is just an afterthought. Do you remember live shows? Do you remember live shows when we used to do live shows?
Yeah.
Your experiences on stage and what you've seen and what you participated in. What are some of the memories that you take and enjoy?
Yes, and also, does it? Do you think you do it differently now than say 20 years ago?
Oh yeah.
On stage.
Oh, definitely.
What's going through your head? What's happening?
I would say with the current project, or what are we calling it? The Gardiner experience. I would say my favorite show, favorite shows. I'll say more than one. When we went on tour to Argentina and Uruguay, we played a couple of shows, but towards the end, the last two shows of that tour, by then we had worked out some kinks, and
StageCraft would like to thank these cool cats for their support. Amanda Kleinman, Randipulator, Ellen Simonson, Ross Kleinman, Daddy O 9000, Paul Barsati, Rob D. Parrish.
By then we had worked out some kinks, and we played the stage. All of the stages in South America are interesting. They're cool. It's like, you just never know what's going to happen. Like, you see the show and then you get there and you're like, it's always like a surprise, don't you think? Like, yeah. They really go in for, each club looks different. Each experience is different. So we played a place, what was it called? Salon
Pueyrredon?
Yeah. I don't want to try to say it. I always mess it up. But, and that club had this, the dressing room was on one side of the club, and then you kind of walked over a bridge over the crowd to the side part to the stage, which I filmed because I just was like, this is crazy. Plus, I decided to wear heels for that one show, and my heels got stuck in the grates in the little bridge. But by that point, we knew exactly, we had been playing a couple times, and that set was finally nailed, and the crowd was excited to see us, and it's just, when I think back to that show, it just makes me feel really good. It's just, What's funny is that when I performed, I didn't know all of the things that had happened behind me. So now that somebody did a video of it and posted it, and I asked them for it. So I've posted it every year since we've done the gig, but I didn't realize that, I know that Jorge moves. So I'm used to that, but I never knew that the keyboardist Daniel was rocking out. Just did not know that. And I was like, wow, look at him, And then he said later, he's like, I love that song. You can tell I love playing that song. And I was like, I had no idea that he was just on it. And then the guitar player, Horacio, he's also just like in front rocking. And like, I was like, this looks good. This feels good. I felt good that night. I felt supported. And which to me as a front person is... it's like, it just makes your job so much easier. But by that gig, we were just good. We'd had it. We sounded good. We were relaxed. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't, it was just good.
And I think people at the beginning were more kind of like freaking out about what am I going to do, But now they have more of like...
I'm so happy to see your face, like now it's like, I'm sick of your face. I'm like, oh my gosh, you guys are moving, like it's been like 10 years of like, please move. And it's like, no, we're fine. This is like they're just wiggling and like they're singing the songs and
you got them to do that.
Yes, that's my goal. My goal is always get up, like, and the thing is, you have to like, it's not easy. I really like, I don't know. I think that one thing I try to do is I always try to perform, even if it is the worst show. There's only one person that showed up. I try to perform for that person. Actually, I really like performing online. I was surprised. The reception was nice. I think that because
they were just bass and voice.
Yeah.
So that was pretty strange.
It was just the two of us.
With a drum machine.
Yes, me with the drum machine. When I was going to shows, I wanted to go to like the seediest nightclubs.
Oh, yeah,
I wanted to be scared to death.
Yeah.
I wanted, I remember rats running over my feet in the 930 Club alleyway, like hanging out with friends. Like somebody got kicked out because they got drunk and they were underage. And you're like, oh man, now we all have to leave. Like these moments... To me, I felt like, oh my gosh, that place, what was it, Barbecue Iguana? Like, that place, DC Space, it was like this feeling. Mm-hmm. And I thought, like, at the time, even those young people were doing stuff that I can't imagine people now doing those things. Mm-hmm. Like, I just feel like we were definitely not the safest people. Like I just wasn't, I never thought, I knew sometimes I was in situations that were really dangerous. Mm-hmm.